Hi class, Dr. Beavers here. Are you still confused on the difference between the 4 chord and the first inversion 2 chord, or the 4 and the 2/6 chord? I thought you might be. I thought I would create a short little video to explain the difference that will help you understand the different subdominant chords that we are studying in class. One of the things that we're talking about is the motion from tonic through some sort of subdominant to dominant in tonic. We see this implied here with our T, S, D, T labels. This is a 1 chord going into a 4 chord, a 5, and then our final 1. You can see that each of these chords above here are written in stacked thirds, meaning that the lowest note is also the root of the chord. The other thing that is kind of weird about this, aside from the poor part writing, right? I'm using this kind of part writing to show that they're all stacked in thirds. This isn't actually how you would play it. That would be terrible. The thing that's less desirable about something like this is notice all the chord qualities. 1 is major, 4 is major, 5 is major, and 1 is major. From a timbral point of view, there's no interest or nuance to the chords. Sometimes you might want to mix in a minor chord to give a little bit of variety to the sound. That's where the 2/6 might come in handy. If you take the lowest note, F or Fa, you stack it in thirds, that gives you your 4 chord. If you keep the same F, but you want something of a similar function, that is the subdominant chord that's going to go to a dominant chord that is a different quality than major, you use the 2/6. Now, of course, notice I'm talking about this from a compositional point of view. Oh, sorry, I'm having a little snack here. So if we approach it from a compositional point of view, what did the theorists think about it? Just so happens I'm a theorist. I know a thing or two about this. If you find the notion of the 2/6 versus the 4 chord confusing, you're in good company. Let's meet these two guys, Jean-Philippe Rameau and Hugo Riemann. They've been thinking about these types of chords for eons. Rameau didn't know what to do with this chord because the chord didn't stack in thirds the way most of the other chords did, the perfect chords of the tonic and the dominant, in other words. He called it the added 6th chord. Oh boy, this has made theorists ache for centuries. Then comes Hugo, Mr. Riemann. He really grappled with what Rameau was saying. He was so upset that these chords were called subdominant chords but did not stack in thirds. But he was really interested in trying to figure out why is it also a subdominant chord if the 4 chord is major and the 2 chord is minor. This didn't make sense for him. So he called it a subposed chord. Oh boy, that was in the 19th century. So the thing that we know that they didn't know is that chords invert. It's a fairly simple concept. Let's go back to the board. See, the thing is, these guys are coming from a place of the figured bass. They think of everything from the bass up in a very contrapuntal way. So, for instance, looking at this bass line, C, C, F, F, G, G, C, or do, do, fa, fa, so, so, do, we can deduce that they have a function of tonics, subdominants, dominants, tonics. Let's take a closer look at the S region. On the first S chord above the bass F is a 5th. So that means that that chord would stack neatly in thirds, creating a triad, F, A, C. So if you look at the second S chord, the outside interval between the bass and the soprano is a 6th. Therefore, it doesn't stack neatly into the triad. Hence, their need to call it a subposition or an added 6th chord. It doesn't just have to be between the bass and the soprano, but for ease of conversation, I'm showing it here as between the outer voices. It could just as easily be in an inner voice. Check out all the intervals between the bass and the soprano. So this first interval is a 3rd, or outside the octave, creating a 10th. In the next chord, you have an octave, then a 5th. Towards the end, you've got a 5th, a 7th, creating a 7th chord, and a 10th. The ones with the pink circles are unisons or octaves, thirds or tenths or fifths, meaning root position chords. That 7th chord at the end is usually like the dominant 7th chord that occurs before the final tonic. So it's a root 3rd, 5th, and one more third, making it a seventh. And the weirdo chord is the one right there with a 6. This is the chord that we are trying to dispute. So since everything in pink circles, including the one with the 7th, means that the bass is also the root of the chord, we can deduce what our Roman numerals would be. That is 1, 1, 4, 2, 6, 5, and there's that 7th chord, 5, 7, 1. Now let's imagine that you've listened to the recording and you've determined that the melody line goes something like this. Do, do, re, ti, do. That is already determined for you what type of S chord we have. Because E flat is the root of a 4 chord, the notes would be E flat, G, and B flat. Therefore, B flat would belong to the 4 chord. The 2 chord in the key of B flat, 2 is C. 2 would be spelled C, E flat, G. So since re is not present, at least in the outer voices, we could determine that this was in fact a 4 chord. For it to be a 2-6 chord, it would have to be re. Do, re, re, ti, do, making that a 2-6 chord. Sometimes the job's a little bit harder when the difference between do and re is in an inner voice. Regardless, you could always pay attention to chord quality or follow one of the inner voices and see if you can sing do or re above the given note fa. So for you in oral skills, when you're doing a dictation, there's a couple of easy tricks to think of when you're listening to that S chord. One, is the quality different? For instance, is it major or minor if you're in a major mode? Or if you're in a minor mode, is it minor or diminished? A little bit of chord quality change will help you understand whether or not it's a subdominant 4 or a subdominant 2 inverted. You could also think of solfege. This is a super easy one as well. Over fa on the bass, is the note do sounding, or can you hear the note re? So you can look and see right here, the F chord is stacked in thirds. Fa, la, do, la, fa. Therefore, the lowest note is the root. Here, you can see this is not in root position. In fact, if you were to rearrange this so that everything's stacked in thirds, D would be the root of that chord. D, F, A, or re, fa, la. Therefore, the bass note, F, is the third of the chord. D is scale degree 2, meaning the Roman numeral 2. F is the third of the chord, so it gets an inversion of 6. 2, 6. Both of these function as subdominant chords. Hi there. Almost done with my apple, almost done with my lesson. I'm balancing this on my shoulder, so sorry if it's a little bit wobbly. Fa, la, do, la, fa. Do is present in our 4 chord, and the quality is major. If I want to change it to our 2-6, means I'm just going to move my 5th to a 6 above F. That gives us the interval of a 6, and we get fa, la, re. Fa, la, re, la, fa. So to summarize, a 4 chord stacks in thirds, has do sounding presently over a major chord in a major mode. The 2-6 chord also sounds over fa, and it sounds minor in a major mode. Those qualities are a little different in the minor mode. For instance, if you are in C minor, the 4 chord is spelled F, A flat, C, and the 2-6 chord is F, A flat, D. Therefore, F, A flat, C gives us a minor sonority, and F, A flat, D gives us a diminished sonority. Well, that does it for the apple, and that does it for our time today. I hope that you were able to enjoy a nice, helpful snack and feed your brain some good information about S functions. Hopefully that cleared things up. Let's check with Mr. Bobblehead. Mr. Bobblehead, do you understand the difference between a 4 and a 2-6 chord? Oh yeah. Have a great day.